Hello Audi Q5 owners. Today we are taking a look and installing the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on a 2024 Audi Q5. And this is going to be a great addition to your vehicle, whether you're towing a small trailer, maybe you have a bike rack or cargo carrier that you'd like to take on adventures. Trailer hitch receiver is going to be the first step to really adding a lot more real estate to your vehicle. And the CURT is going to be a really great option. So let's take a look at it. Now, this is what the hitch is going to look like when it's installed on your Audi, and it's a really clean look because it's a hidden cross tube, meaning the only thing that you're going to see when installed is going to be the 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, the safety chain loops, and that's it. It actually uses an opening in the fascia to slide this through, so we didn't have to do any trimming to get this in place. Now, being that it is a 2" by 2" receiver tube opening means that you're going to have tons of options when it comes to accessories. This is kind of the standard size that you're going to find on most trailer hitch receivers, and all of those accessories are going to stay in place with a 5/8 pin and clip. Now, the hitch does not come with one. A lot of times when you pick up accessories, they'll have their own proprietary style. But if you plan on leaving your accessory on the back of your vehicle long term, something I would look at if you don't get one with your accessory is a locking pin and clip. It's a really good deterrent. That way people can't just walk by, take out that pin and clip and those accessories with them. Now, the safety chain loops are going to be just a rolled style. So if you plan on towing a trailer and you have safety chains with standard S hook, maybe a small clevis, or even a large clevis, it's going to be no problem to be able to hook this up. Now, when using your hitch, you do want to adhere to the weight capacities not only of the hitch, but also what the vehicle's rated to tow. Take a look at the vehicle's owner's manual and see what it's rated, and then compare that with the capacities of the hitch. You want to take the lowest number so you stay safe. We're not overloading anything in the process. And the hitch is actually rated pretty solid. So your gross trailer weight rating is going to be 5,000 pounds, which is going to be the weight of the trailer plus the accessories loaded onto it. So you can really tow quite a bit with this. Your tongue weight also extremely good at 750 pounds. And that's going to account for a lot of your suspended accessories. So cargo carriers and bike racks, things that rest in the hitch and are supported. And with 750 pounds, you could load up a 4-bike rack with pretty much any bike, cargo carrier, full on vacation. I really don't worry that you're going to go over that. Now, you can't use a weight distribution hitch on this just due to the nature of its design. And something I will recommend is if you're getting your hitch installed or you're doing it yourself, you might want to do wiring. It's a good addition. If you plan on pulling a trailer, you're going to need it. But even if you have that wiring, it's nice to have in case you do need to pull a trailer. So something I just recommend. Now, some accessories, when you pick them up, they have the availability to stow in a vertical position, which is a really nice feature. It cuts down on the amount of extended length on the vehicle. So when it's not in use, you can stow it up. And a lot of cargo carriers and bike racks will have that availability. But with that, you want to make sure that it's going to be able to work with this vehicle. So some vehicles, the fascia sticks out too far and you can't fold them. So I'm going to measure from the center of our hitch pin hole to the furthest point of our fascia, and it's coming in at 3 inches. So really with this vehicle, I don't worry too much that you're going to have any interference. And if you want to see how different accessories interact with this vehicle, you can take a look at some of those products, and with your vehicle in the fit guide, you'll be able to see how those interact. But keep in mind, when they are vertical, more than likely, it's going to block your license plate as well as your rear view camera. I don't worry too much about the taillights, but possibly. And also, in order to open up that rear hatch, you're probably going to have to fold those down, but minor things in the grand scheme. Another measurement that we're going to take is going to be our ground clearance. So from the top of the receiver tube opening to the ground, it's coming in at right about 14 inches. And that's going to be important for choosing a ball mount. If you're getting a fixed style ball mount, you want to make sure that your trailer is going to be nice and level going down the road. Best way to do that is if you have your trailer available, you can measure from the ground to the top of the coupler and then compare that with our measurement. And then you can decide the rise or drop necessary to get it all equal. On this one, I would suggest it's probably going to be a few inches of a rise depending on the trailer. But a great way to account for all of it is to get an adjustable ball mount. That way, depending on the trailer that you're hooking up to, you can adjust accordingly to get that nice and level and have the best towing experience possible. Now, a question we get a lot with vehicles that have a hands-free liftgate is, with the hitch in place, is it going to mess with that? Is it going to hinder me from being able to use that? And the answer is no. You'll be able to use it just as before, just don't kick in the center. So here I have the fob, one quick bump here, and it opens up with no issues. So that's the great part too, is you get all the usability without taking away from anything on your vehicle. Nice that it does work with it. Now you're probably on this page because you want to see what it takes to get installed. The difficulty says 10 out of 10, and normally I say don't let that scare you off, because anytime you pull a fascia off to get the hitch installed, they generally bump that up. But I will say this is a trickier vehicle. Most German cars are very well put together, but that also means they're a little bit harder to take apart. But this one, there's no huge surprises. You're just gonna be pulling off more panels than you think in the interior to gain access to mounting points for the fascia. But once the fascia is off, you're really just taking off the bumper beam, putting the hitch on and bolting it up. So none of it's particularly hard. I will recommend you probably want an extra set of hands for taking the fascia off, as well as holding the hitch up when we bolt it up. But beyond that, like I said, there's no trimming. It's a really clean look overall. But, you know, if you watch the video and decide, you know what, this is more than I want to tackle, that seems pretty difficult, or you don't have the time, the place, the tools, or even the want to do it yourself, I totally get that. But don't let that hinder you from getting this on your vehicle. It's totally worth it. And if that's the case, you can find someone close to you by using our dealer locator. You're simply going to put in your zip code and you'll find a list of shops near you that can get the hitch installed, as well as any other components you may need. That way you don't have to worry about the install and you can use your hitch. But for those of you that are going to be tackling this on your own, I'm going to walk you through step by step. I've done quite a few of these, and if you take your time, I think you can handle this. So let's take a look at that. To get our installation started, we're going to be underneath the fascia getting some screws off. And something I'm going to point out before we even get started is there's a lot of hardware that's going to be coming off of the fascia to gain access to our bumper beam. So having a nice organized spot to keep all of your hardware will make sure that everything goes back, and it's just going to make the process a lot more streamlined. So first thing we'll have is a T25 Torx bit, and underneath, right behind the muffler, you're going to find that there's going to be 4 of these screws. So we'll get these taken out. We're going to continue using our T25 Torx bit, and we're going to go to our wheel well liner and remove a screw that's in this bottom. So it's kind of tight here, it's hard to see, but just go to the corner and get this removed. And once that's taken out, we're going to take the wheel well liner and just kind of pull this out for now. And this is going to give us access to a few more of those screws. What we're trying to do is get this outside wheel well trim pulled back, because there's a screw that holds the fascia to the rear quarter panel. But it's imperative that we get these screws taken out. So as I pull this back, you can see that there's one here, and just work your finger along the edge. There's another here, and then as we go up, there should be one more right here. So we'll go through, get those taken out real quick. And just be careful, if you pull the wheel well back, the trim a little bit, the main thing is you're not scratching your paint while doing this. It is pretty tight here for the bit to get in, so just take your time. With those screws removed, there are clips that are along the wheel well that we're going to need to pop off. But what I recommend doing is just grab this lower spot, and you'll see I put painter's tape here. That's going to allow me to put my plastic trim tool behind here and just kind of pop this out. So keep pressure while pulling back, but as you kind of work these clips, what I do is just twist this. You could use a trim panel tool like this, but just know that you're kind of going against your paint here. So you really want to just take your time here. They're not terribly hard to pop out. We just want to make sure that we're not scratching the car in the process. But keeping that pressure as you work your way, so you can see I'm just kind of holding this back. Once you get to that clip, just a quick twist, and we can get these popped out. And then there's going to be a clip up here, and I am going to pop this out a little bit. It's a slightly different style. The main reason is we want to get this screw taken out, so we want to have room. And if you want to, what you can do is grab some shop rags or a towel and just put this back here. Don't pull this back too far, because you can create a crease here and damage the paint. But our T25 is located here, so we'll get that taken out. Now with that screw taken out, we can repeat on the other side. Open up your hatch and you'll find these circles. They are going to be a T20, so a slightly smaller Torx bit here to get these removed. And there's one on each side, so we'll take those out. Now there's still going to be some attachment points on the fascia that go on the back side here of our scuff panel. So we do need to remove this scuff panel. It's actually pretty easy to do. I do recommend starting on each side. Don't go from the middle. It helps kind of keep pressure on the clips properly. If you can reach your fingers underneath this spot, just kind of lightly pry this up. And then I go to the other side to get that side popped up. You can also use a trim panel tool to kind of wedge here if you need to. But once you pop that up, it should come out fairly easily. There's just 4 clips. They're not terribly tight, so we'll set this aside. With the threshold out of the way, you're going to see that there's 4 grommets, and we're going to be attacking the outside, larger diameter ones. So first step, we'll pry that off. You can use a trim panel tool. If you can pull back a little bit of the edge there and use needle nose to just kind of grip. These can be a little bit tricky. But with that popped out, there's going to be a stud and there's a nut at the bottom. So very, very crucial on this to take your time. You're going to want a deep well socket because as you loosen it up, the outer side of the stud is going to be not threaded. So that nut's just going to sit there. And if you try to get it out with your fingers and it drops, you're going to have a hard time finding it. So what I recommend doing is if you have a magnet, we'll loosen this up, get the nut to the end, and then use the magnet to pull it off. If you don't have a small magnet like this, you can take a shop towel or a paper towel and put it on the socket. And that way, when you loosen this up, it's going to give just a little bit of pressure to where that nut should stay in there. So it is kind of tricky to guide it in, but this hole here where our threshold was, if you shine a light through here, you can kind of get a direct shot at what you're doing. So we'll get this taken out and then we're going to do the other side. Now I'm going to grab my magnet and we'll fish this out. Our next hardware that we're going to attack is going to be behind our just cargo cover here. And this pops out pretty easily. You just turn this knob, pull it straight out and then up. We can just set this aside and we'll be doing this on both sides. You're going to reach right around here. So on this one, it's right above this fuse panel. There's going to be a circle. And just like before, it's going to be a very similar situation that we had behind our grommets. So 10 millimeter, same thing. I'm going to use my magnet to get it completely removed, but we'll get these taken out. We're ready to get our fascia pulled off. So I do recommend grabbing an extra set of hands. I got Sam to help me here. And what you're going to want to do is have something set up to rest your fascia. On some other hitch brands that do a lot more luxury vehicles, they've stated on some of these that you don't want to unplug this fascia. It can cause some issues to where you have to take the vehicle to the dealership. I can't guarantee that that's the case here, but just with an air of caution, I'd rather just prevent having to deal with that. So generally what we'll do is we'll start popping off the ends on both corners and work our way out. The cable that we can't attach or detach is on the driver's side. So I have my cart set up. So as we pull this off, we're going to set that on there because really all we need to do is gain access to the bumper beam. So to, again, get this pulled off, just pull behind the fascia where we removed that Torx bit. And also if you want to put painter's tape along the edge, that'll help kind of scratches from getting or from happening as we pull this off and also as we put it on. So those studs need to slide out where we remove the nuts. So when you pull back, you do want to go straight back if you can. And then as we pull this, we'll see that we have our cable and it's pretty tight here. So sometimes you can remove a clip to give us a little bit more room, or you can pull the wire out of the grommet and that'll give you just a little bit of extra. So it's going to be awkward here, but the main thing is we have access to our bumper beam. So we'll just get our cart set up right here. And once we have that at a good spot to where it can rest. So our hitch is going to bolt up behind the bumper beam, and we're not going to be reusing this hardware. It comes with new hardware. So we're going to remove this and just set our bumper beam down because we'll be putting our hitch up pretty quickly. To get our factory bolts out, 16mm socket. There's 4 of them on each side. So what I'd recommend doing is you can take out 3 of them and leave one just with a little bit of thread. That way it's not falling down. It probably shouldn't, but just to be safe. Now you may notice that the top has a little support beam here. That is going to come loose, so just be aware of that. And at this point, we'll take off these bolts, take off this beam, and we'll set it down. Take the hitch, and we have those studs that kind of held our bumper beam in place. So we're going to slide that on first. And something that I'm seeing is our heat shield is kind of in the way a little bit on this side. So I may end up trimming this because it is putting a little bit of pressure on the hitch to where it's not drawing all the way back. It does look like a small amount here, so you may or may not have issues. To make it quick and easy, you could just bend this out of the way, and I think that's what I'm going to do. If you have an extra set of hands, maybe the person that helped you pull off the fascia, you'd slide that bumper beam back in place. And the hardware is going to be these bolts with the conical tooth washers facing towards the metal on the hitch. The bottom lower one here where the bracket doesn't go in, we can thread that on. So make sure that you have our stud going through. And if we get one of these bottom ones in place, then we can get that bracket in. So just get that started. And I'm going to do the same on the other side, get one of these lower ones in place. You can put your bracket in place, and then we can guide all this in. It is a little bit cumbersome here, but at this point we can lift kind of the whole assembly to get it aligned. And really, as long as you get a couple threads started on each corner, hold it all in place and make it easier for the rest of the hardware to go up. Get all of our hardware started. And once all the hardware is started, we're going to snug it all down with a 17mm socket. There's no need to get crazy here because we're going to come back with a torque wrench to properly torque everything down. We just want to draw everything back so it's sitting flush against the metal. For the torque setting, you're going to find that in the instruction manual, and it's not a super high torque setting, so if you're renting a torque wrench from an auto parts store because you don't have one, you can get away with a 3/8 torque wrench. You don't need anything too crazy here, but this is going to be an important step, especially because we're using threaded spots from the factory. We don't want to overdo it. That can really put a lot of stress on there and just make for not a great securing of the hitch, but also we want to make sure it's tight enough to use the hitch for the lifespan of our vehicle. So we'll go through, get these all torqued down. Once everything's torqued down, we're good to put our fascia back in the reverse order. And there is an opening here, and to get this on is not that easy. So I did have to really kind of bend this plastic here. I didn't want to trim anything because we have this opening. Now with that, we did have to kind of just slide it over and really move the plastic around, and it's tight. And also while you're trying to do that, it's going to catch a little at the top. You could trim that back and make it a lot easier, but there is a kick panel sensor there. So I kind of recommend not doing that. Just really take your time, get this plastic behind, and then on this front edge, as you start to kind of draw that up, peel this until you can get around it. Once it's kind of over this, then everything lines up. So at this point, you're going to want to make sure that those studs, you can see them run through the holes. That way we can get everything bolted up. And everything's going to go back in the reverse order, same way we took it off. I did mention that trick for the nuts with putting them back on. You can use that shop towel, just press that into the socket and then have the nut in there. That'll hold that in place while you can thread it on. And once it's threaded on, that piece of paper towel will probably fall inside, but it's not going to hurt anything. Now with everything back in place, all that's left to do is load up your accessory, put it in your pin and clip, and you're ready to hit the road. Hopefully this video was helpful in getting the hitch installed on your Audi. If you tackled this on your own and was able to do it, I'm proud of you, because this is not an easy one to do. None of it's particularly hard, but as you probably saw, it does get a little bit tricky to get this fascia off, and if you stuck through it and got it installed, good job. Now with that being said, if there's anything that I might have missed, or maybe a tip or trick that you found along the way that would just make it a little bit easier for the next person, please leave a comment. That really helps us make these videos as best as possible for neighbors like you that are tackling this on their own at home. With that all being said, thanks for joining us on this look and installation of the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver on our 2024 Audi Q5.